Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Brian Gilmore, Director of IoT and Emerging Technology at InfluxData. Today I'm joined by Balaji Palani. Welcome.
Hey Brian, thank you. Hey everyone, my name is Balaji Palani. I'm a Senior Director of Product Management at InfluxData. Great to be here.
Exciting. So in this session, we're going to be talking a little bit about cryptocurrency, financial services, and how companies in those arenas are using our products and our services. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about it though. So I think one of the things we can really do to benefit our audience is sort of let them know how we see cryptocurrency and what it means in terms of what we're building as a product and as a platform. Then we'll move into some of the use cases and some customers that are working in the space with our products. And then we'll also show a few, eye chart reference architectures that should be pretty exciting with lots of information on them.
That'd be awesome.
So I think first of all, it's important to really understand where we group these solutions in terms of how fintech, how crypto is using our platform. And it seems like most of the time they're in some sort of like real-time analytics use case where, the banks or the crypto companies have customers who they want to understand their behavior, their use of their own platforms, maybe the ups and downs of the prices of the different tokens and things like that. Is that what you see in your role?
When I look at crypto or even fintech, the one word that comes to me is innovation. And the reason is, I get reminded of a few months ago, I saw an article on NPR talking about Bill Gross. Bill Gross is, he founded the PIMCO total return. And if I track that, right, so going back to 1970s, we had bonds, but bonds were like simple debts, not so interesting like stocks, really boring, not so many people were interested in it. And then innovation started happening. They started derivative trading in bonds, then FTS, high frequency trading, HFTs. And then also, if you talk about crypto now, blockchain and crypto and Bitcoin and so on. With all of these, I see a lot of innovation in that space, really.
Gotcha. So it's basically sort of the next phase of the advancement of financial services. Now, we're a software company. Our product's used for time series data. How do we fit into that technology? I mean, people aren't using us to trade Bitcoin, are they?
No, really, essentially anything, right? So especially in the financial trade, fintech market, everything has a price and they change over time. Whenever you see things that change over time, now all of a sudden you have so much data coming in. I mean, there's so many crypto coins available today that you can trade, just crypto alone. Then you put in commodities, then you put all of those, that becomes a lot of volume of like just simply things that you could trade that has a price and that changes over time. So you really need a very high scalable that takes in very high ingest and superior performance on queries. Now, because of, we talked about the high frequency trading and so on, you need sub-second latencies. Then your queries have to come in sub-second, within a second. And when you have millions of users using it, all of a sudden you're looking at high performance in terms of queries plus high volume. You need scale, performance, and all of those things.
Makes sense. So the high tech requires good technology to analyze it. We have customers in fintech. We have customers in cryptocurrency. I think when we look at blockchains and we look at distributed ledgers, should we just think of blockchains and DLT as sort of the underlying technology that needs to be monitored by a time series platform?
Why not, right? Blockchain is the next evolution of, like the Web 2.0, right? They call it Web 3. So now we need to start monitoring those. You spoke about a few customers. We have customers who still have legacy technologies because financial industries, another thing that they have to adhere to is regulatory governance. And in order for that, they need to be, monitoring certain things, and they're still using legacy systems. So that, with the fact that they are also high risk, right? So they want to maintain the low risk thing. So with that said, they have legacy technologies, they have new technologies, which everything requires monitoring, like you said, and then we are a time series platform.
So let's drill down a little bit now that we know that this is very similar to all of the other use cases from either a real-time analytics or a observability and monitoring perspective. What does it look like in terms of the data sources or the integrations? Is it vastly different than what folks are doing in any of our other industries?
It's a little bit different. Again, as I said, they're all data sources, right? So, like for example, I just get reminded of a few of my customers in the fintech area that use InfluxDB. So most often than not, because I mentioned legacy systems, they have data coming in and they sit at any of these data sources. Could be Splunk, New Relic, it could be all of these things, and you probably need to ingest that data because you need we talked about high speeds, high writes, and high queries, fast queries. So you need to store that in InfluxDB. So you can use Telegraph. Telegraph is an agent of ours. You can install it in a VM or another Docker container or something. But it has plugins. It has a bunch of a lot of input plugins which can get data from Kafka queue or from your Splunk databases, and then get that into InfluxDB, which allows transformations, right? You could be doing sub-second. In order to get your sub-second queries, you need to be transforming that data every so often, which is what they do in InfluxDB.
Very nice, very nice. So let's talk specifically about some of our customers in fintech. I know Cap One is a big customer of ours, and we've been working with them for a while. What can you tell us about them?
Sure. Yeah, Capital One is an interesting customer. They've been with us for a long time. They have an interesting journey with us. They started using open source first. They looked at it. They evaluated with open source. But one of the things that they do, I mentioned Splunk. So Capital One, they have Splunk which collects everything, metrics, logs, and so on. They specifically look for things and extract data as metric format from Splunk, push it using Telegraph into InfluxDB, and they use certain tasks, to really transform that data. They also use a lot of alerting, and they also extract the data outside of InfluxDB because they would like to run machine learning models to detect anomalies. So it's like a very complex system with InfluxDB at its heart, but they also feed into external. They have a machine learning system that actually extracts data. Another unique thing about fintech industry is we talked about data reliability. So for them, it's like disaster recovery is key. So they're not only running one active site, they have another disaster recovery site, which is like a passive site, which takes in data, and then they have, at any point of time, when the active site is no longer there, you can switch to the passive and so on. They're doing a number of things to keep them in sync, to really keep them. Another unique thing about Capital One is because they're in fintech, they have to store or retain that data for longer, like a year or more longer on all of these data, which is expensive, right? So these data, if you store it on SSD, it becomes really prohibitively expensive. It could be running into terabytes of data. So that's also something they try to solve today by extracting or exporting that data into an object store, which is S3. They do this outside of Influx, but something that we could definitely help them in the process of solving that problem.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like now we have a session for InfluxDays that we're doing around observability, and everything you just told me sounds just like how you described observability. Even that sort of logs and traces piece coming from those third-party tools. Like, what's our vision for building a platform that will do all of that for customers of any type, including fintech? I mean, if we can think of financial services, fintech, blockchain, these are going to be the biggest, most aggressive technology companies of the next decade. What are we building for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are so excited about. You might have heard about Project IOX. We've been working on it for a year. But jesting aside, we're really excited about that because the reason is IOX is supposed to be our next generation storage engine, And we really built with certain architectural things in mind. Like, for example, I told about the longer retention periods that Capital One has, right? How IOX addresses that is, in IOX, we fundamentally store cold data into Apache Parquet files, which could be stored in object stores, which means that you don't need to worry about retention period. I mean, literally terabytes of data, because Apache Parquet is, and again, it's an on-disk format that has superior compression. So it can compress terabytes of data into really, really small, gigabytes possibly. And once you store in S3, you know the cost and economics of storing in S3. It's really, really cheaper than what you would do in SSD. So that's number one. IOX also helps in, basically we're building it as a columnar store, or data store, right? The columnar data store is really, the way you look at it is, instead of trying to scan all of the data for all of the columns, you specifically look for that dimension. Perhaps, you're looking for error, different types of errors. That could be a column that you capture, and you just extract that and kind of group by errors or types to give you, so you don't have to scan all of the rows, right? So you just scan that error type row or column, and you just group by, and you can sum it, or you can show the count and so on. So we use Apache Arrow for in-memory specification. Like Apache Arrow is an in-memory format. And how it works is we use a querier, which can take in Postgres SQL as your query language. So you can query using SQL, and that will query the in-memory component for the hot data, and the Apache Parquet is stored in object store for the cold data. Combine the two and really respond to incoming queries.
So I feel like, one of the things we talked about earlier is that the nature of sort of cryptocurrency and its difference is that it's highly distributed. It feels to me like that model of sort of Parquet and distribution through, Apache Arrow and those types of things, is that going to allow the database to be more distributed for a customer, where maybe they can, capture data closer to where it's created and analyze it
Absolutely.
globally?
Yeah. Now, of course, we have to land IOX in cloud and so on. But yeah, eventually that's the vision. The vision is that, this interoperability, that you can store Parquet files at the edge, or where it's generated. You can work on that. Again, if you can put something which is InfluxDB at the edge, that can actually work on the Apache Parquet, and then send it over to cloud, and the aggregated or the downsample data.
Wow.
There are whole sort of use cases that can be exposed using this.
That sounds really exciting, powerful too. Let's talk a little bit about crypto and what specifically is different there from both fintech as well as our other use cases. Is there anything specific, like from an architecture perspective?
Yeah. So crypto is a recent kind of nascent area, right? So what we have seen over the past couple of years, right? Crypto startups, they come on, they need something really quick, right? So it's first to market, right? So they come on, they sign up with the InfluxDB Cloud, and they kind of build their applications. Crypto companies, they have to look at web and mobile both at the same time, and they need again superior performance on writes, reads, and all of those are the same. But crypto has another element. Now they're interfacing with their customers using mobile applications and so on. So what we're kind of seeing as a pattern evolve is they're building on top of InfluxDB. And they kind of have their customers, one company, for example, uses InfluxDB to store user wallet information. The crypto wallet, they compute balances. They use tasks. A lot of tasks are Flux scripts that run at frequent intervals. They compute wallets every minute or so. So that, whenever the user is able to look at the mobile, their wallet is instantly updated with any transactions that happen.
So we're in the user data workflow there. So that's not just monitoring and observability.
Correct.
We are part of the crypto platform. Is that crypto.com, or what does crypto.com do that's?
Yeah, crypto.com is somewhat similar, not exactly the same. Crypto.com is a great example where they are actually trading platform, right? So they allow users to trade cryptocurrencies on that platform. So they need to track everyday prices, the market prices. They use InfluxDB for directly tracking, I don't know, 3,000 cryptocurrencies or whatnot, on our platform. They have about, I forget now, but 10,000 values per second. They use tasks as well that can look at hourly and also daily, what is the average, what is the trending. All of these, again, they use mobile and web application as well to directly feed that information back to the users, which again could be millions of users for them, right? So it's like superior performance on writes, superior performance on reads, queries, tasks.
Wow.
So again, it's a little bit different than what we saw with Capital One, but this is the new generation of the application.
Yeah, it sounds like we're finding kind of a sweet spot there in the infrastructure of like being between the user and the blockchain and sort of making sure that what the customers of these companies have is reliable and high veracity, it's high volume too. It sounds like is this a real big data problem? Is this what we're looking at finally? That's awesome. I want to first summarize, be sure that we make sure that we hit the key points. So cryptocurrency, fintech, these companies are technology companies. They have the same needs when it comes to monitoring and observability, as well as real-time analytics of customers and assets. The reason that InfluxDB is seeing good success here is because we are both highly performant today, but it sounds like we're going to be even more highly performant tomorrow with everything we're doing around IOX. And that we'll have a platform that any company, no matter how large, will be able to pull together all of their metrics, their logs, and their traces from customer apps, from the exchanges, from the blockchains, all of that. And they'll be able to use tasks in our APIs to analyze that and bring value to their shareholders, bring value to their customers. I get it?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's 2 in a row.
I'm super excited about IOX. So yeah, in case you or the customers want to check it out, we have an IOX Lighthouse or internal beta. We're calling it internal beta. You can just go to influxdata.com/IOX-Lighthouse and provide your information. We'll reach out to you in case you're interested.
And I think we'll have that posted here in the session for anybody who's attending. So with that, I want to say thank you to Balaji. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session.